Introduction. Tuesday, October 30th, 2012, 3 a.m. Hurricane Sandy is devastating the northeastern United States of America, and I sit on the time-worn brown rug of a first-floor apartment 1 hour's drive north of New York City. There is no power. None has been available for 7.5 hours. It flickered off, with a few uneven, intermittent stutters for the duration at 7:26 p.m. the evening prior. Some like darkness, it can provide a temporary protection from the burning rays of the sun, or perhaps the disapproving stare of a neighbor. This particular darkness may afford to some an unexpected reprieve from a long work day, or the chance to rekindle a love that has long suffered under all those things that the light reveals. I don't like the darkness, not since the haunting. My wife, still auburn-haired and beautiful in spite of the quarter-century that has passed since I met her, has gone round in her bathrobe and lit an unmatching assortment of candles. She scattered them throughout the modern living space. Some were scented, some were not. I found the largest candle, from which a sweet cinnamon smell emanated, and placed it on the sturdy old wooden coffee table in front of me. Its once lustrous surface was scarred from countless human motions, and its edges worn just the same. I considered placing it out on the sidewalk for the bulk trash collection on more than one occasion, due largely to the questionable stares it would elicit from our guests. But on this unscheduled occasion it was sturdy and reassuring. The marks of aging were washed away as it held, with purpose, the one bright point of physical light in my world. I chose to wait up through the night in the event that one of my 2 children decides to make the dangerous trip home. They might need my help. I'm their father. That's what good fathers do. I wondered to myself if they think I am a good father. Outside, the moon is there, I know, because it always is. It has silently observed the rise of the great pyramids, the expansion and collapse of mighty empires, and the excited beginning and teary-eyed end of every single human relationship. And from a perch canopied by countless stars above, eventually it beheld the illumination of a forever darkened earth night by humanity's artificial fire, the light bulb. But even its eternal gaze was now blotted out by tumultuous, fast-moving clouds of medium and dark gray on this night. Amongst the bowing trees, there are no street lights to guide anyone home now. There is no method by which to look up into the stars and chart one's course, one's destiny. Inside, my window offers no comfort other than to reflect distorted sections of my own positive images back to me. The shadows cast by the candle dart and flit and dance around the plain walls. The memories, long locked away, are knocking again. I hear them, but they are faint as though light raindrops on bending grass. My mind begins to race, to connect the strands of memory, to calculate the numbers. There's one thing I do know. I don't want this. I don't want to start counting with the number 1 again. A silhouetted figure of a 2002 Oldsmobile Cutlass drives down the road, and the beams of the car's headlights, as they cut through the falling rain, serve to refocus my straining synapses. A few long seconds pass, and then I let loose an exhale born of cerebral achievement. It has been 28 years, 6 months, and 10 days. This is what I do. I count. A more advanced math had long since replaced the count to 10 method that was featured prominently on the Sci-Fi Channel School Spirits episode just 4 months prior. It was the method my maternal grandmother, Anne Marie Hubley, had taught me as a child. It had worked back then. One of my sisters had been screaming and crying to the point that her face turned red as she gasped for air between tear-laden whines. My grandmother took both of my sister's hands into her own and then placed them on her wise face. She looked into her eyes and told her, "Count to 10. My sister, perhaps intrigued by the request, did so. Her crying stopped. She sniffed back some tears and then asked for permission to feed the dog who had been hiding under the table in an attempt to escape the noise. I was dumbstruck. I walked repeatedly around the perimeter of the Long Island backyard. For several hours the world moved on happily without me. Then, and only when I had planned out what I felt was a satisfactory line of questioning, I pushed my hair back off my forehead, climbed up the 3 cement steps of the porch, and entered the house. The great sage was occupied, frying potatoes in a pan, chopping up cucumbers, and checking on the meat in the oven. Grandma? Her hair was pure white, and it seemed to me that no grays or browns would ever dare to besmirch it. And though aspects of her physical form showed the wear of having raised 6 children, having lived for 5+ decades and worked through most of them, her light blue eyes remained sharp and focused. She half turned and afforded me a welcoming glance. There he is. I was watching you walk around all afternoon. What's on your mind? I smiled. Wisdom. I stood by her side with my hands clasped behind me as she fine-tuned the evening meal. I was mesmerized for a short time by the speed and accuracy with which she chopped up stalks of celery. I watched her fingers peel the head of lettuce. I noticed that her apron, which no doubt years ago was worn to protect her clothing, was now nothing more than an ornament. Nothing. Not one drop of water, one bead of grease, or one cucumber seed tarnished it. And as the sun began its glorious gold, orange, and pink descent behind the treetops of the flat Long Island horizon, obscured only by the wooden fence that secured the backyard, she explained to me that by counting to 10, you can put some time, some space between you and the event. She explained that after my sister had counted to 10, she realized that she was fine and there was no emergency or crisis, and that things often are not as bad as we first perceive them to be. I cannot remember much, if anything, about the meal itself, but I do recall helping my grandmother wash the dishes afterwards. I recall because she turned to me, while my young mind focused on the now heroic and seemingly overwhelming chore of getting every speck off of the silverware, and said to me, "I'm glad you're a good person, Christopher." Then, in deference to my grandmother, and more specifically the counting technique, I had a large purple-faced monocle-wearing count hand puppet, the one from Sesame Street, who would engage in some counting exercise with each appearance. I placed the puppet at the foot of my bed each night until I was 16 and the family dog decided she would eat it. But the routine that had served me so well in achieving both athletic and academic success, and for so long, would eventually fail. It would fail, utterly and outright, when some terrifying thing willed itself through the walls of my college dorm room and into what had been a promising young life by any standard of measurement. Then again, maybe it was I who had failed. Maybe I should have counted longer at 9:16 p.m. on February 12, 1985, as the room's temperature dropped and that thing was materializing behind me. Maybe I should have pushed past the number 7 before I turned up to see what it was that had sent a strong, pronounced chill of pure dread up my spine, before I gazed into a face that now, I count further, I count back the days, thousands of days. I count, and it makes the memories recede. It takes away some of the responsibility and the shame of a long-ago failure that simply will not heal. Then, at the precise moment when I know they will evaporate away like they have for the last 10,419 days, they rise up in the darkness like a tsunami wave and wash an aspect of my mind up onto the hard, wet, unforgiving beach, left vacant, unattended decades ago. I land hard, feel paralyzed. My breathing becomes more focused. It feels like my brain hurts under the skull and the back on the right, just like before. Oh gosh, not like that. As there is no electricity, there is no heat in this old Victorian-style home, and the room's temperature has dropped noticeably. My skin is now cold to the touch. I check to be certain, just like before. My fingers begin to lose sensitivity. Yes, just like before. Just like 1985 in my college dorm room when the ghost came. This is my story.